Okay, 32 minutes gone past four. You're listening to Lagos Talks 91.3. It is time for The Office. And remember, we bring you episodes of The Office Thursdays on a weekly basis. We get to talk about workplace culture, how relations between employees and employers can be more efficient and cordial, how we can promote and advance a less toxic and a more advanced um, workplace environment, basically. We also get to bring in experts from CIPM to, you know, furnish us with the knowledge and, some skills and I like to call it some crash courses on how we can be better in the workplace. So today isn't an exception. We've got someone who is an expert as far as the business of human resource management is concerned, and she joins us via Zoom this beautiful evening. Good to have you. We are now joined right now by Mrs. Olusola Amu. Good to have you join the conversation. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
I hope work has been great today.
Yes, it has. Thank you for asking.
Right.
And yours?
Well, work has been great. I just resumed anyway, so I'm hoping work will be great too. But per usual, it's always great here. Always a good time. All right, Mrs. Olusola Amu, ACIPM, Head HR Operations, HRX Consultant. Let me go through her profile for you. Quite robust, I must say. We always make sure that we're bringing technocrats here to, speak and discuss on some of these important issues. She is someone who has over a decade of HR expertise, generalist experience garnered from organizations in consulting, health insurance, and outsourcing. She is an associate member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria, that's CIPM, and holds a human resource practitioner's license. She holds a BSc in Geography and Planning from Lagos State University, that's LASU. So that's about it. Once again, welcome, Mrs. Olusola.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Okay, so we're going to introduce the topic right now, but just before we do that, we have to go on a break. But maybe I should just even spill it before we go on this break. We are going to talk about equity, okay? And I know you have loads of things to talk about when it comes to this issue of equity in the workplace, but we'd love you to cook something nice for us in form of, a definition or a conceptualization of what it is to be practicing equity in a workplace. So when we come back from this break, you're going to tell us more about this topic, okay? Thank you so much. As you cook, we're coming back in a jiffy. You're listening to Lagos Talks 91.3. The center of excellence is Lagos Talks 91.3. Join the conversation on the most relevant issues affecting the workplace, as well as the human resource parties in position to solve them on The Office. Get notifications on available job listings and advice on how to apply from featured experts in the industry every Thursday from 4:30 p.m. to 5 p.m. 91.3. The Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria, CIPM, will promote excellence and regulate the ecosystem for people management to deliver value for sustainable growth of individual organizations and nations. As the apex regulatory body for the practice of human resource management in Nigeria, we ensure continuous development and maintenance of professional competence of our over 12,000 members across the public and private sectors of the Nigerian economy. Will help you drive through human resource challenges in the workplace by providing tools, resources, and solutions that align with best practices. Become a professional and develop your competencies as a professional. Join us today. Visit www.cipmnigeria.org to get started. We deliver value through people. And laughs. It's live drive. Okay, welcome back. 37 minutes gone past 4 o'clock. You're listening to Lagos Talks 91.3, and we still have Mrs. Olusola Amu, ACIPM, HR Operations, HRX Consultant. And we dished out today's topic, and I'm sure she's good to go with us. Shall we proceed now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, today's topic, once again, just as a reminder, is drum roll now. Embedding a culture of equity in the workplace. So, straight to the point, what is equity and why is it important? Because if I'm a layperson when it comes to this, what comes to mind is I'm just trying to make sure that this is as correct as possible, but I'm relying on you to give us better insight. Equity to me, I'm talking about, say, resource allocation in a bespoke manner or in a tailored manner to ensure some sort of balance and fairness. But from your own perspective, what is equity and why is it important in the workplace?
Okay, thank you very much. Equity in the workplace really, it ensures that every employee works on the same level, regardless of their ethnicity background, regardless of the country of origin, regardless of their gender, regardless of their experience. So it encourages fairness and impartiality, to say the least. It's really important. I will use the definition of Gallup, and it defines equity as fair treatment, access, and advancement for each person in an organization. And it's why would we say this is important? It's really important because you give everyone, you understand the uniqueness and what each person brings to the table. You understand their skills, their competence, their differences. And I will use a quote to buttress this. And Nahi Dosan says, equality is giving a shoe. Equity is giving everyone a shoe that fits. We will not say because we're giving everyone the same shoes, they have various sizes of fits. Their needs are different. Some people have deformity, disabilities, and the kind of shoes that fit them will need to be customized to their needs. So this really drives home why equity is important in the workplace at the moment. Yes. I hope that explains it.
Well, I think to a large extent it does, and I'm happy that I wasn't so far off that concept. So in your opinion now, do you think, and I know you are definitely someone who is seasoned in the industry and you've worked in different industries and facets of economies. In your own opinion now, do you think the culture of uh, equity, do you think the culture in Nigeria, generally, organizations in Nigeria encourages fairness and impartiality?
Okay, I will start from this standpoint. I will say we have improved tremendously from where we're coming from. And one thing that led to that improvement, that even moved, that made us have that tremendous change at the speed of life is when COVID happened. We see that COVID's impacts cut across not just the countries, not just the economy, but it went into the various workforce and the way of work as well. The way of work we're used to in 2019 has been tremendously impacted upon. At the moment, in Nigeria, then in 2019, everyone worked from a four-walled organization, a four-wall structure. You have to clock in the morning, you have to clock out when you're leaving, and you have to mark attendance. You need to show that, yes, you're there. And we were interested whether the person was mentally there working, or our major interest was you need to physically be accounted for, and that has tremendously impacted the way of work. At the moment, we have a diverse workforce. People have embraced diverse workforce. You do not have to come into the office at 9 to 8, a structure from 8 to 5. You can work from anywhere in the world at the moment. You can, provided you have access to internet, you can work from anywhere in the world, and that has greatly impacted on the way of work in Nigeria. And when I talk about in terms of when we look at equity, when we talk about female and male, the gender system, we see a lot more women rising up and breaking the ceiling that was there before, where we had the saying that you can't be a mother, you can't be a wife, and an established professional as well, going to the heights and moving to board levels, director levels. And we've seen over the past few years, we've seen more females rise to this occasion. They've broken that ceiling wall and shown to other women that yes, it is possible to become more, to do more, and to stand out and to be an expert in your field at the moment. So I will say we have moved from where we are, and I see that we're embracing change at the speed of light. Yes, thank you.
Interesting. I was also going to talk about, it's interesting you talk about this COVID situation and how it shaped the way we worked. A lot of people began to inculcate this remote style of working, which I think we've been lagging behind because the Western world has been making use of that for quite a long time with services like we're using right now. A lot of people come together virtually to ensure work is done. But to what extent do you think that the culture in Nigeria is influencing or negatively impacting progression or total graduation into the remote style of working? Because it just feels like a lot of people in their 60s, 70s, entrepreneurs in that level, in that kid of age, are finding it difficult to accept the younger generation and the idea of working from home. People are being made to sweat it out, like literally, before they earn their pay. So to what extent do you think the culture is dragging that idea behind?
Okay, thank you for that question. Currently, we have 4 generations in the workforce at the moment, and every generation has its own unique attributes, has its own unique it comes with its own uniqueness. And of course, I will say yes, it's been a struggle for them, but a lot of them have also embraced them. If there's anything, every organization is diverse. We also have seen that top management is filled with people that cut across this workforce, this various generations as well. And what I've seen, especially, I can give you an instance of an organization where they worked just strictly physical. And when the HR had to hire new talent, they had to now embrace hybrid. And what she did was she moved gently. She didn't rush into saying, let's just move from what a physical work structure to a remote structure. She tested the waters. So they understand that you don't have to be within the office to be effective, to be efficient, and to be productive as well. And she had to, as we all say, HR needs to be data-driven. And she captured the data on, okay, let's work Mondays to Friday. Okay. Let's take a day off. And they took a day off. And they found out that day they were a lot more productive. You've cut down work travel time, and people are just their system. You can call the meeting as early as 8 a.m. and you're rest assured that everyone will be available because they're not in traffic. It cut down cost for the organization as well. There are a lot of benefits, and with that, she was able to push to the board to say, okay, this is the data, this is where we are, and they moved from a physical Monday to Friday physical work structure, and currently they have a 1-day physical work structure. So 4 days remote, 1 day physical. And it's really important for us to be able to drive that number and show evidence that this can work. So without results, obviously, there'll be a pushback. But when you have that result and you show with data, real life data, it's easy for them to embrace it because it's a win-win situation at the end of the day.
Interesting. And just to encourage those out there who might be in positions of authority to make these important decisions within organizations, I got a gist from someone who works for an international company that had branches in parts of Africa. They had a branch in South Africa. So at some point, they had one of their HR managers come work briefly in Nigeria. And then when she came, like you said, she tested the waters and realized that productivity was going to increase if they imbibe this remote or hybrid culture. And then she implemented that. She also, for those who were still working full-time physically, she adjusted their resumption date, resumption time, I beg your pardon, to 9 a.m. or thereabout, because she understood the Lagos traffic and all of that. And then it worked. All of a sudden, when she was leaving, they did that for like maybe 2-3 weeks, and then the Nigerian HR manager who resumed, in her stead, reverted to what it was before. And that was why I was asking that question: how ready are we? But thank you so much for pushing that answer in. I think it has put things in perspective as well. But let's talk about how important. Why should organizations care about equitable environments within the workplace and unbiased culture? Why should the entrepreneurs care about this?
Okay. It's really key and really important for organizations to care about it, especially with the huge influx of millennials and the Generation Z into the work culture. It's important for us to understand and see it from their own lens, see from their perspective the way they want to work. We've moved from the authoritative leadership to leadership where we all sit down and have that conversation to understand what exactly you want, how we can have that imbibe into the culture and the system, and how we can have a win-win situation. So it's really, really critical. One is it's important because it boosts engagement. You want a situation where your employees are engaged. You don't want disengagement from your employees. And how do you get employees disengaged? It's when their own expectations, what they also want, they're not being heard. You don't have a fair playing ground where they can say what they want, and then you hear them and see how you can provide that work culture, how you can make the system comfortable enough for them to adequately execute their duties as well. So it's really important for boosting engagement. It also helps in reducing employee turnover. You have people who are willing to stay with the organizations when they see that, yes, I have an organization who respects me. They respect me. They want to hear from me. They want to know how I'm feeling as well. And they know that it's a win-win. It boosts that employee engagement and reduce turnover. And also it's really good for the employer brand as well. In the light of things, people come into interviews now asking questions. So you have candidates, the table has turned to when the interviewer is the one interviewing the candidate. The candidates are digging deep because they're spending more time at work, and they really need to know what's in for me. How do I ensure I'm not losing myself? I'm not losing my expertise. I'm not losing my competence. I don't want to work in a toxic environment. I want to work in an environment where there's equity, where there's respect, there's fairness, and all. So it's really important for brand equity. When people see that the culture of the organization embraces equity and there's unbiasedness in the culture, they are the ambassadors of those organizations. They are the ones that go on LinkedIn and say, oh, I had this challenge and my line manager or my leader did this and did this to me. And guess what? That's pushing your brand out there without even going to pay a dime for adverts and all. So that's really key. In terms of skills and competence upgrade as well, it's really important because you have a plan where you don't have a general learning and development plan for everyone. Everyone comes with their own unique needs. Why we always do a training needs assessment to understand each individual's need and how we can bridge that gap to ensure, yes, they get to where we want them to be. So it's important for organizations to embrace it because it creates an enabling environment for both the employer and the employees as well.
All right. We need to go on a break. You're listening to The Office here on Lagos Talks 91.3. My name is Kolawole, and we have been speaking with Mrs. Olusola Amu, ACIPM, Head HR Operations, HREX Consultant. We need to go on this break, and when I come back, I would still push some more questions to her. We'll talk about a few things from the perspective of managers within the workplace. Stay with us.
The Chartered Institute of Personal Management of Nigeria, CIPM, will promote excellence and regulate the ecosystem for people management to deliver value for sustainable growth of individual organizations and nations. As the next regulatory body for the practice of human resource management in Nigeria, we ensure continuous development and maintenance of professional competence of our over 12,000 members across the public and private sectors of the Nigerian economy. Will help you drive through human resource challenges in the workplace by providing tools, resources, and solutions that align with best practices. Become a professional and develop your competencies as a professional. Join us today. Visit www.cipmnigeria.org to get started. We deliver value through people. Is Lagos Talks.
Okay, welcome back. 53 minutes right now, going past 4. You're listening to Lagos Talks 91.3. You are, of course, enjoying conversations with me, Kolawole, and Mrs. Olusola Amu. She is ACIPM, and she has been giving us information about equity in the workplace. So let's proceed, Mrs. Olusola. Right now, let's talk about the line managers now. Generally speaking, is organizational culture, is it determined by the way the line manager leads, the style, the approach, HR activities, or the leadership management of the business? Do these things make part of what determines the direction of organizational culture?
Thank you very much for that question. And this question is really key and important. And yes, I will say the leadership has a great role to play, and they are instrumental in shaping and sustaining the organization culture. It's important and very vital that the leadership embodies the culture, embodies the values, embodies what they expect from members of the organization. So it trickles down from leadership downwards. You do not expect an employee to run with the vision, the value, when they see that the leader is not embodying that value that they seem to be talking about. If you say employees should come in, let's use the most simple example, attendance, for instance. You want employees to be punctual to work, and you need them to come early. It starts from the leadership. They need to see that, yes, you see that example trickle down from up there down towards them. If I see my boss, for instance, come in early before 8, I will not stroll in at 8:01 because I've seen that example embodied. It will really be unfair for me to do that. And we always say it, the ownership, the core, the major stakeholder in embodying the culture, the values that we need to see within the organization starts from the leadership. It starts from the C-suite, from the C-levels. It trickles down to the executive managers. It trickles down to the mid-level. It trickles down to the senior manager, down to the least employee or least designation within the organization. And it's really important. So they have that. They have the highest ownership of ensuring culture is cascaded down and embody it as well.
Okay. Well, equity is also part of the culture that can, be established in organizations. But tell us the relationship. Is there a nexus between equity and trust?
Absolutely, absolutely. Very, very, very key. Very key. If we say we have a building, for instance, the foundation is really key. Without the foundation, that building is really unstable and will fall down and crash sooner than we think. So trust is a foundation. It is very key for equity within an organization. Trust is the foundation which we can build equity on. If your employees do not sense that they can trust you, if they do not see that in terms of our definition, they don't see that fair treatment, they don't see that access, they don't see you showing to them that yes, it is a leveling ground, that they're working in an organization where we promote their individual rights to be different, they won't trust you. So it's really important for equity. It is that foundation to build on, and employees see that. So your response to them when I ask for time off, or when I ask for when I say something, when I give you feedback with respect to your own question to me, if I see that my feedback is used against me, guess what? The next time you ask for feedback, I will give you feedback that you want to hear, but not sincere feedback that relates to how it is. So it's really, trust is really, really important when we talk about equity.
Okay, so well, let me just push this. What do you think are this? Because I know a lot of people who are in positions of authority within organizations are listening at this point. I mean, it's the office, and it's a daily dose of some of these nuggets. But what, from your professional and in-depth perspective, what strategies can be put in place to embed a culture of equity within an organization? What are the strategies? What are the ways that managers can go about things?
Thank you for that question. It's really key and very important. I will say it's important for managers to connect equity to their culture and their values. It's really important that it needs to be at the heart of their organization's identity. The leaders need to be able to reflect this in the culture and the values. So there has to be that relationship, that collaboration, in knowing that, yes, it has to be a part of our culture and value. It's also important to have equity audits within the organization. It's anonymous. You don't have to request for their name. So they're sincere. They give you real-time feedback on where the state of the organization is at the moment. So it's always important to have those equity audits. It's important to feel the pulse of the employees, ensure you understand where they are, what they feel, what the sense, get feedback from them without necessarily telling them to come out, because people really will tell you their minds when it's anonymous and say all that. So it's important for us to do this often and not wait. As we said, we've just concluded CIPM conference, and what was really reiterated was the fact that rather than wait to have an exit interview and get feedback from an employee leaving the organization, why not have a stay interview? Find out why they are still in the organization, what is motivating them, what's endearing them to stay, and so you can build on it. When you get this real-time feedback, it helps you as well to build on it. It's also important to have policies and processes that align with what you want to embody in terms of equity within the organization. Review your policies, look at them. Are there biasness within it? Is there something you need to change that will ensure there is inclusion and ensure diversity within the workforce? Even within our recruitment process, how do we ensure that these processes are refined to be able to ensure equity, that we are not judging people based on their competence, based on their skills, but we're looking at it from a more holistic way and saying, okay, based on your experience, I know you don't have the degree at the moment, but you have the experience, we can bring you on board and identify these trainings to be able to upskill you and ensure we can bridge that gap. So it's really essential that we look at our policies and ensure that they embody and they imbibe what we need in terms of equity as well.
Yes. Okay, well, wow, this has been quite big in terms of scale and the richness of some of the things that you said. So thank you so much. I must confess, this has been quite enlightening. Do you have any last words as we wrap it up?
Thank you very much. Last word for me will be, it's really important for us to put equity as at the forefront. And it's important for us that when we're talking at management levels, that we talk about ensuring that we have a diverse and inclusive workplaces. So it's really key that we refine our policies. It's key that we monitor the pulse of the employees and the organization. And it's key for us to have an environment where people are sincere and willing to add value and bring up their suggestions, where we don't have any toxic culture, where we have them come to the forefront to add value to what we currently have. And that will be all. Thank you.
Keyword value. Thank you. That's a takeaway from me. Value, truth, equity. Thank you so much, Mrs. Olusola Amu, ACIPM, Head HR Operations, HRX Consultant. We do appreciate you for stopping by. We look forward to having you another time. All right.
Thank you very much for having me. To have a blessed day. Bye.
And you too. Okay, you've just listened to another episode of The Office here on Lagos Talks 91.3. You must know that The Office is proudly brought to you by the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria, CIPM, and of course, Lagos Talks 91.3. Don't forget, next week, Thursday, we get to bring you another exciting edition of The Office. You're listening to Lagos Talks. Up next, we're going to bring you a repeat version of Critical Thinking with Zeal. Stick around.
This is Lagos Talks 91.3. On Sunday,
All right, madam.